Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanande, Jaya Om Vishnupada, Brahmansa Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Esi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Antara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. Go Premanande! All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru. Thanks very much for coming. What's the name of the storm at the moment? Kira. Kira, that's it, yeah. So maybe that's what's keeping people a little bit away today. So, I'm just going to give a talk on a few different items, mainly on the from the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, and it is based on devotional service. Devotional service is our way to understand Krishna, and the amount of times that we see it in the in Bhagavad Gita is quite phenomenal. It keeps on popping up in all different places. Mainly because Krishna is emphasizing it in all different chapters. The 11th chapter, there's a whole chapter, the 12th chapter, and you have the 18th chapter as well. But also I'm going to read a little bit from the 6th chapter and the 7th chapter. So it's, devotional service is pretty important. It's kind of loud, so is it okay to speak into it? Is it okay? I can pick it up anyway, can I? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Great. So, but I thought I'd start by, I just want to read a part here it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is obviously it's the postgraduate study after Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is something which we should all read. Not just once. We should work out what age are we now, and then work out, maybe we should live for, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, let you can all decide that. And then discover how many times are you going to read the Bhagavatam in that time, because the more you read it, the more you actually understand it, and the more you read it, the more you kind of see more into it. And it's also because the transcendental science, it's ever fresh. It's always new because it's occurring. Oh, thank you. It's actually occurring even while we speak. Like, it's not as if the Bhagavatam is suddenly stopping, and then it waits until we pick it up. No, it's actually already, it's going on all the time. It's because it's a description of the spiritual world. And it's just allowing us to get an opportunity to come in contact with it. So we're kind of trying to tune ourselves up so that we can actually become part of it again, so I just wanted to take one part, and it was it's Srila Prabhupada 3.4.28. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada says some things, and we don't necessarily kind of pick it up so easily. And then sometimes we just see this magical explanation that Prabhupada has in that we will have maybe missed, and this is one such instance here. And it's happening when Vidura is talking to the sage, talking first of all to Uddhava. Now, what happened is that when Krishna was about to leave this planet, he was about to leave. It was after 125 years here. It was after the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It was after that all the Vrishnis, all Krishna's family had left, and one of Krishna's main devotees was called Uddhava, and Uddhava was very, very close to Krishna. He was so close to Krishna that, but he lived in Dwarka, but he was so close to Krishna that Krishna asked him to go and to appease the gopis when they were lamenting his absence. When Krishna was in Dwarka, some people it's also said that Krishna never leaves from Vrindavan, but anyway, that's for another day's discussion. But when Krishna was in Dwarka, he asked Uddhava on his behalf to go and to tell the gopis that he was coming soon, because they were all completely lamenting that he wasn't there. So they were in a terrible state. So therefore he wanted Uddhava to go there to tell him that he would come shortly, he would come soon. But he also had another reason for sending Uddhava there as well. He sent Uddhava there so that Uddhava could find out the immense love that the gopis had for Krishna. Because Uddhava was in a kind of like a friendship relationship with Krishna, although he respected Krishna as an elder at the same time. It was a mixture between friendship and awe and reverence and many other things. But he wanted to show Uddhava the incredible love that the gopis had, which was a so spontaneous love of Krishna. So he asked Uddhava to go there and to explain to them that he was going to come soon. But he also wanted Uddhava to see this incredible love that the gopis experienced. So he didn't give that to everybody, but he gave it to his very dear friend Uddhava. And there are two sections. One is the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna speaks to Arjuna, and he tells Arjuna all about the whole science of Bhakti Yoga, which we're going to refer to soon. But there's another book in the Bhagavatam called the Uddhava Gita, and in the Uddhava Gita, Krishna even speaks even more information about the nature of the spiritual world as well. So therefore, Arjuna and Uddhava are very, very closely aligned. But Uddhava is, you could say, even more closely in that sense, because Uddhava had the experience of the pastimes in Vrindavan, whereas Arjuna did not actually experience there. But that's not to say that one is better than the other. That's just a transcendental reality of the spiritual dimension. So we don't kind of go there and kind of make all these differentiations. We just accept what's happening. In different stages, we can actually discuss it even further, and it's more and more relishable as well as we do. So there's all of these things are all there to look forward to in Krishna consciousness. It's an ever increasing, ever in-depth analysis of what's going on in the spiritual world, and our attempts is to go back to the spiritual world and to leave this material world behind, so that we can also experience all of these things. Anyway, this is when Vidura, who's another character from the Mahabharata, was speaking to Uddhava, and Krishna had just left, and they were both in an incredible state, because they were both very, very pure devotees. Like, Krishna had just left. Can you imagine? The Supreme Personality Godhead has just left. How are you going to feel? They were feeling very, 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 very emotional, you know. So Sukadev Goswami explains that, okay, after discussing with Vidura the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc. on the bank of the Yamuna, Uddhava was overwhelmed with great affliction. He passed the night as if it were a moment, and thereafter he went away. So Uddhava was after explaining to Maitreya all about Krishna's pastimes, his life and everything, and they got some comfort from hearing that. But now Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, the word used here for Krishna is Vishvamurti. Both Uddhava and Vidura were in great affliction because of Lord Krishna's departure. And the more they discussed the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, the more the picture of the Lord became visible to them everywhere. Such visualization of the transcendental form of the Lord is neither false nor imaginary, but is factual, absolute truth. When the Lord is perceived as Vishvamurti, it is not that he loses his personality or transcendental eternal form, but he becomes visible in the same form everywhere. And that's to the devotee. You know. So this is what we're also trying to experience. You know, we're trying to experience Krishna everywhere. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, for one who sees me everywhere and who sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So, as devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement, we're trying to get that constant visualization of Krishna. It's not something which we force. You can't force it. You can't say, Krishna, come here. No, it's not going to work like that. But Krishna will appear when he sees that we're earnestly trying to develop our relationship with him. We're earnestly trying to get above our lower nature, and that we're earnestly trying to situate ourselves in the eternal atmosphere. And we do that principally by two activities. Can anyone explain to me what two activities are essential for
chanting and hearing?
Chanting and hearing, exactly. Shravanam, Kirtanam. They're the first two effects. So, in the 9 processes of bhakti, they're the most essential. So that's why we have our Bhagavatam class, our Bhagavad Gita class here on Sundays, and during the week we're starting to add a few here and there, which we're going to try on Fridays as well. But in general, in temples, especially in Sanagar in Delhi, as you've been to, we have every day Bhagavatam class, every evening Bhagavad Gita class. So that's because it is essential. So we don't necessarily have the manpower to do that here, but ourselves we must also do that. You know, in the morning and in the evening, hear from Bhagavad Gita and hear from Bhagavatam, so that we can enter into this, you know, this a real state of whom we actually are. So chanting and hearing are the first two important stages of devotional service. And as I said, devotional service is everywhere in Bhagavad Gita. So in the first 6 chapters, one important message is given, and that is the difference between soul, the super soul, and material nature. They are 3 energies of God. One is the superior energy of God, who never falls down, who's always, who's sustaining this whole universe, who's sustaining the millions of universes, and ultimately who's even beyond this whole material situation. He's never born. That's who we're talking about here. This incredible personality is called the superior energy of God. Then we have the material energy, which we see all around us, the material world, these planets, the physical energy of God. It's called the inferior energy of God. But in between those, there is us. We're the marginal energy of God, the Tatastha Shakti. And the material or the Tatastha Shakti has the ability to either stay in the spiritual realm, or, unfortunately, it has the free will to come down to the material realm. So the material realm is us when we are ignorant of God. This is the place for us to come to when that's the situation. We have somehow or other decided that the spiritual world is too God-centered, and we want to be more me-centered. So Krishna has created this situation in the material world. So there's those 3 energies are there. The constitutional position of the living entity is the servant of God. Not God, but the servant of God. This place is here for us to remember that, or to just rediscover that. We can have a little play here and think that we're God, but it will be seen very clearly that we won't experience God being God, because we're not God. So they're the three facts of nature. So that has to be understood. If we understand, that's what Christian in the second chapter, sorry, 2:11 to 2:14. It's the explaining who never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. Krishna gives this basic information. This body, or the soul, goes from this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, and then passes into another body of death. And this whole thing goes on and on and on until we can actually leave this material world. In other words, it differentiates between the body, which is the materials, and in this soul, which is us. We're not this body. Then it says matras parshas to means that the living entity who is not bewildered by all the changes of Storm Kira and whatever, all these other changes that goes on. There's so many changes in this world all of the time. So, but the soul is constant, is not disturbed. So that's where we have to come to. So that's the preliminary information Krishna gives in the second chapter. In chapters 3, 4, and 5, he gives information of yoga, of how to be even-minded, how to get to Krishna. But then in chapter 6, it's called the Dhyana Yoga. At the very last verse in chapter 6, 647, Krishna then gives a hint about devotional service, about where we should be at. So I'm going to read that verse now. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatanantaratmana shadavan bhajite yomam same yuktatamo mataha. So are you listening? And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So the main point there is that renders transcendental loving service unto me. And what are the two best processes for that? Hearing and chanting. Yes. So now listen what Prabhupada says in the purport. Srila Prabhupada. And this is a word called bhajate. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is used when there is a need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshipping a respectful man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. And that's where we are. We've fallen down. So we're part of Krishna. We're not independent, We're actually part of Krishna. So our nature as part of Krishna is to serve Krishna. That is what we have to get to understand. We're constantly here serving ourselves. We're constantly here in the world trying to get some happiness. Happiness can only come from serving God. That's where the actual happiness is. But the world is set up in a certain way that we think we can get happiness by eating this, drinking this, having a nice home, having a nice job, These are all temporary little happinesses, but they'll end in the opposite. Why? Because at the end we're going to leave it all behind. And that's why it's so important to go back to what we said here earlier. If we can get this picture of Krishna, Krishna starts appearing to us, even during this lifetime, even though we'll still try to get this and get this happiness, it'll slow down. We'll get less and less and less and less. And then Krishna will become more and more and more and more prominent. And anyway, it'll slow down, because our body will break down. You know, as you get past 60 years, you start to see the body breaking down more. You know, you don't have the same energy as before. But still the spirit soul can be even more, you know, focused actually. So that's the benefit of getting old actually. You can actually get more focused spiritually. But anyway, whatever we have or whatever we're striving for now, we'll have it less and less. We can't eat as much as we used to. You know, our taste buds start to lessen. You know, the other functions of the body, you know, our hair starts falling out, wrinkles start appearing. We get older, we're less attractive physically, you know. So these things start to happen more and more. So where's all the enjoyment, all the so-called enjoyment we're supposed to get here? And we can't get a mortgage anymore because we know banks said, no, you'll probably die. I'm going to give you your money. You know, we can't get you know, the so-called, you know, we may have, I was funny, I came across a guy the other day and he got a penthouse in London. And it was because I'm in the kind of the art business, there's about, you know, interior design. And guess how much money he put into his penthouse in London? Any guesses? Millions, yes. How many millions would you say?
8.
167 million into his house he put in. Can you imagine? 167 million. I mean, it looked pretty good. But eventually, now he's wearing glasses. Eventually, his eyeballs won't function very well. And he'll hardly be able to get around the house. He'll still only be able to eat maybe 3 meals a day, you know, for all his 167 million. So, but eventually he'll go. Even his friends will go, you know. I won't get too gross, but his friends, you know, eventually he'll be in bed and he'll be in an ailing condition. And then he'll breathe his last. So he tried to be happy with his 167 million. And he probably was a little bit happy when he saw it, you know. You can't deny that. You know, there's a bit of happiness there. But that happiness is considered to be like a drop of water in a desert, you know, when you're absolutely so thirsty, you know. One drop of water, it's not going to appease your thirst. But that's the reality. That is actually the reality of it. You won't get it. You won't get any more, you won't get any less. And okay, we're not going to have 167 million pounds to splash on our shanty in our place in Clonsilla. We maybe get maybe $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, whatever it is, you know. You'll be able to put something in to make a few little adjustments in the house to make things a little bit more comfortable. But, you know, even that little bit of comfort is going to go, do you know? There's this famous story from the Vedas of this man who's I think he lives to some amazing age, literally into the hundreds of millions of years, and he said, why are you still out in the open and you don't have a house? He says, I haven't got any time to waste getting a house, you know. And he has this long life of literally millions of years. But because he's self-realized, he's not going to spend any time on it. Now, we're not like that now because we need to have certain comforts, like especially we've got so used to comfort. But Srila Prabhupada, he talks about unnecessary necessities, you know. That's obviously it's a paradox. How can you have unnecessary necessities? But it talks about the material world. It creates all these unnecessary things that we think we need, you know. But it's very clear that we're trying to live more comfortably in this world, but all the comforts that are there, all the endeavor to make the comforts inevitably makes things much more uncomfortable. Like we have global warming, we have the atmosphere becoming completely polluted, and so many cities now, the level of toxicity that we're living in is unbelievable, and we don't hear about it practically. But it's going on all the time. The water that we're drinking, you know, so we can have nice tap water, but the water that we're drinking is full of all of these impurities. So all the way that we're trying to make things more comfortable, it becomes more uncomfortable. But that's the way the world was made. The Krishna made the world in that way, so that we wouldn't become too comfortable here. But we have to strike a balance. Like, I mean, we're not, You know, like for instance, if I'm going to Innisfree tomorrow, you know, I can't walk there. It'll take me some humongous amount of time, and you know, with all the rain and everything, I'll probably have a few colds by the time I get there. So I have a car or a van or whatever. I go there in relative comfort and so on. But it's said that all these things, in other words, that we can use these things if they're being used in the service of God. You know, this is our great saint sage, Rupa Goswami, who's directly coming in disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wrote the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion, as well as the Nectar of Instruction, where he explains how we can live in this world by using things in the service of God. You know, these things are there, but they're ultimately belonging to God. But if we use them in the service of God, then we don't get any reaction for using them. And also the same thing is with food. If we offer it first to God, then not only does it become better for us, but it's actually that's some word that Prabhupada uses, something, but I can't give you the name of it. But it means that it makes us immune to the material world by eating prasad. Not only does it become spiritual and it helps us physically, but also it makes it spiritually, so it's spiritual food. So by taking spiritual food, we become immune to the material world. So that's the incredible benefit of using material things in the service of spirit. You know, that's where we want to get to. You know, and so these things are there so that we can use them, but only in as much as we need, not as much as we greed. You know, because the greed aspect is there, and unfortunately, it is there in all of us. And we'll come to that a bit later when we see that these things are there. These things can get in our way. Lust, anger, greed. They can prevent us from performing devotional service. So the whole Krishna consciousness aspect is to become attached to Krishna, but also we have to get rid of things like those things: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy. These are there in us because they're covering our pure perception of the spiritual world. So I just want to stop there. There's also thought I'd use this class. If anybody has any questions, even if it's not on this subject matter, but something they'd like to discuss. Ivan.
So, if we were primarily from spiritual world,
yeah,
and there is knowledge, bliss, and everything in service to Krishna and everything, how did we came here in the first place?
Well, it has to do with our. We're not God, you know. We're called the Tatashta Shakti, or the marginal energy of God. So the marginal energy of God is God, but is simultaneously one and different from God. So God wanted ultimate pleasure is in sharing love, you know. So therefore we are part of God, and our relationship with God is one of love. So, but love is not something which you can dictate. You can't say, love me, love me, love me, love me. It doesn't happen like that. It happens through, you know, free will. You know, that's actual love, when you love.
But in the spiritual world, is everybody already in the loving service to God? No?
Everybody is in the loving service, but it's still voluntary. You know, it is still voluntary. It still comes from us.
But if we can go from this world in the spiritual world,
yeah,
Krishna promises that we're never coming back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Tadvat Vatnarani Vartante.
So it means
Tadam
that in
Paramam.
this life we will only make it sure that we want to serve Him.
Yeah. Yes.
And
we have
understand that we don't want to come back here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once bitten, twice shy. You know, like Prabhupada has explained throughout the Bhagavatam, which is a very high understanding of this as well, is that we've left the spiritual world. You know, that's, you know, although it is argued someplace that we cannot leave, but actually, it is our understanding at this point is that we've left the spiritual world, and that. But once we have the knowledge again, once we remember, you know, back to Godhead, you know, once we remember, then we'll never ever come back here again, you know. And it's actually considered, sometimes it's been like a dream, that this is just like a dream, you know. We never left in one sense, in a certain level. Yeah. And then it's just kind of like we'll just wake up and say, oh my God, you know, what was that about? Well, that was a bad dream, you know. So there are all these different explanations there. Another answer to that question is that Prabhupada at one time said, is that don't worry about how we got here. Just get out. Just worry how to get out. You know? And he gave that example of a person who's been hit by an arrow. You know, you don't say, "Oh, that's a very interesting arrow. Who shot that? Where's that from?" No, you know, you kind of think, "Let's get it out quickly." That was another example that he gave.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Anyone like to ask anything? Just because there is different questions that come up, and you know, during the week, and sometimes we don't really get to them here in the class. Like, you know, it's because it's just an opportunity to make things interesting. But anyway. Yeah. So I'll just continue in the purport there. So this whole thing about badge, it means service, devotional service.
But it's not really regarding this topic.
No, that's fine.
Do you know where I can get the tulsi tree?
Tulsi tree. Well, that's a bit of a practical. No, I'd probably keep it on the philosophical at this point. But yeah, we can talk about that afterwards. Yeah, oh, I do know that. This person who has some. But if you're moving though, make sure you have a stable position for it. You can't be, you know, for Tulsi. You need to have.
It will be a gift for Chris and Megan.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not sure they have Tulsi already. They may have Tulsi.
I don't know.
29th, we better forget that date.
We have to advertise for it.
Yeah. Okay, no, I think they may have already. But if it's no problem giving them that, it's a good gift. So the whole point about we'll get back to back to the class there about devotional service, because that is our constitutional position. That's what we want to get back to. But at the moment we're still serving ourselves. You know, think about it many times we're thinking about Krishna. And think about it many times we're thinking about ourselves. Then you'll know how Krishna conscious you are. You don't have to be, you know, very advanced to know that. You can just be honest, you know. How much am I thinking of myself and how much am I thinking of Krishna? And what we want Krishna to be appearing for us, because Krishna is always there. He's in our heart. He's actually bringing us. He wants us to come back to him, you know. And we want to be there with Krishna. So we have to pray to Krishna. We have to encourage Krishna. We don't encourage him, but he'll come anyway. But we have to be able to see Krishna, you know. So therefore we have to take away all these things which are preventing us from seeing Krishna. There are always kind of things coming up. But Krishna's there all the time. So that's the stage we want to get to. So devotional service is the practical way. Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he spread his Krishna consciousness worldwide. It was thought that it could never leave India. Do you know that it was too difficult? How would these Malachas and Yavanas, how would they ever take up this Krishna consciousness? But Prabhupada was not put off. He came out and he said, this Krishna consciousness for everybody. And then suddenly all these people who never heard of Krishna before are worshipping Krishna like anything, you know. And that's because that's the natural position of the living entity. And Prabhupada did it by some phrase in the nectar instruction. Practical activity in the foreground of spiritual life. Practical activity. That's how he did it. First and foremost, hearing and chanting. But then this also kicks in. Somebody was here today at 12 o'clock, was cleaning the temple so that we could actually have all this nice scenario. It's practical activity, you know, in the foreground of spiritual life. Somebody's organizing festivals, organizing things so that other people can come to Krishna consciousness. This is practical activity, you know, helping us setting up the restaurant, getting the restaurant done and dusted. And don't forget the financial aspect of it. You know, it's not that this is a very clear. My friend Tribuna Prabhu, he's a devotee of the Lord, he left his body lesson one. He said, where your money is, that's where your heart is. You know. So is your money with you? Are you getting things for yourself? Have you got a nice house? Have you got everything? And Krishna's in a bad house? You know, is this the situation? That's a good detector to see where your heart is. Do you know? Where is your heart? You know, where your money is, that's where your heart is. If you're earning Lakshmi, if you're earning money, give some to Krishna. It's not yours anyway. It's not yours, it's for Krishna. So find some good Krishna conscious project and give it to that project. You know, but give. You don't have to give it here, you don't have to give it there, but give to some project, because your Lakshmi that you're holding on, you don't know how attracted we are to this. This is one of the things which is blocking our vision. It blocks us to see. Because we want money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. You know, I want. Wealth. It's one of the things which keeps us here. Because we think, oh yes, I'm a very pious person. I'm very pious, you know. But actually, we're if Krishna took our wealth, how pious would we be? You know, if he took everything away, where would the piety be? That's the test. We can see it. But this is a warning. Wealth is one of the greatest, you know, kills the heart, kills it, you know, because we want something. We want it for ourselves. It's a lust. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is the all-devouring enemy of the world. Chapter 3, the end of chapter 3. Arjuna asked that question. Why do we come back? Why are we compelled to sinful activity? Is this compelled by force? And Krishna says, it is lust only, O Arjuna. And lust doesn't mean that you're, you know, lusting after some Hollywood star or something like that. Lust is, you know, lust is there for, you know, for so many things. But it's to enjoy here, separately from God. That's the thing. We're trying to have our own comforts. Why does he get it all? I want some. I'll be rich. So he spent 167 million on a pad. You know, apparently the guy. It wasn't a bad guy. I'm not trying to, you know, blaspheme him any more than anybody else. He came from Stoke-on-Trent, where he came from very low class. He said himself coming from a very difficult background. So, but pardon, you got his number. But so that's the nature of us being here. We're all of us are afflicted. Don't think I'm talking about anybody else here. I'm talking about myself as well. Like, you know, it's there. It's in us. But if we want to know, Krishna says, if you want to know where the enemy lies, he says it's in the intelligence. You know, it's, you know, there are different places where the lust hangs out. You know, and read Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter. You'll find out where Krishna says where it lies, and then you have to act on that. And then you'll see Krishna. Then Krishna will be there. Because we went and want it more than Krishna. Krishna, that's the problem. Do you know? Krishna is, and look, Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yata Bharto Dhanurvara, Tatra Shirjayovichu, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Krishna says that, you know, wherever there is Krishna, the supreme personality, wherever there is Arjuna, the great archer, there will always be victory, morality, strength, opulence, and extraordinary power and morality, you know. So Krishna owns it all, you know. We're making the wrong choice, you know. As I said earlier, that's why we came here in the first place. We're trying to take it out from Krishna. You know, we're trying to take Krishna's position. And Krishna says, oh no, you idiot. You know, okay, here's the material world, go and try and enjoy. But I come and try to help, you know. And, you know, he's giving us always this hint how to get out. Sometimes he even gets, you know, he just takes things away, or he gives us pain or whatever. Just he does it, you know, so that we don't get attached here, and then we turn to him. Queen Kunti always, she wanted just to turn to him. She wanted more pain. You know, we're not on that level, but it means that we turn to Krishna, and that's the thing. And then we have Krishna, and we don't have the other things. And then at the point of death, we'll have Krishna. You know, Krishna will be there. Prabhupada will be there. He'll be saying, come on. You know, it'll be like, we read the Bhagavatam all the time, read Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna will be there saying, come on, and we'll be able to pass over, like Dhruva Maharaj. You know, he just stepped on the head of death. That's what he did. You know, just stepped on death's head and went to the next, the whole, there was a whole Hansa, swan-like carrier was there with Vishnudutas to bring him back, and brought his mother back as well, because his mother helped him at the beginning. So it was there and brought him back. So that's what we want to do. We want to go back. We don't want to stick around here. So because if we're too attached here, we'll get here again. Okay, you think you can enjoy? Okay, go on. I want this. Now I want to be a university professor. Now I want to be a millionaire. Now I want to be a Hollywood star. Now I want to be, you know, we're going down with all these mad desires. It's like an insane asylum, you know. This world is like an insane asylum, you know. Everyone's going around trying to be this, that, and the other. You know, you can't. You know, It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So all those chapters were coming up to this, up to Dhyana Yoga, where Krishna then says that of all the yogis, the one with great faith always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service unto me. He's the most intimately united with me. So this intimacy is there for Krishna. You know, that's where the intimacy, that's where all love comes from. Our love with people, I want to love in this material world, lovey, dovey, lovey, 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 lovey. But actually, we can only love if we love Krishna, because then we can love everybody if we love Krishna. So, but Krishna is there. We have the other living entities. He's giving us a taste of his love, mother's love, you know, our intimate lover, all of those things. They're just giving us a little taste of it. But the actual intimacy is there with Krishna, and that will be experienced in the highest degree. So the next chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called Knowledge of the Absolute. It's and this first verse is the one that Srila Prabhupada spoke on more than any other verse in all the verses, and he's got so many. Last week we gave out all the Bhagavad Gita lectures, and Gulnara was the first one to snap it up, you know, and she went home with all these Bhagavad Gita lectures, and which was really smart, very spiritually intelligent, and she wrote a really nice message afterwards about it. But so this is the verse. It says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, this is Krishna speaking. Maya Shaktamana Partha Yoga Yonjan Madashraya Asankshayam Samagramam Yata Yasyasi Takshinu. And he says, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me. So he said this, the best yoga is the one he just spoke about in 647. With mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Now, this is the real, how do you call it, cutting edge of Krishna consciousness. It's the cutting edge. It's what separates it from everything else. I studied philosophy in college for 3 years, and all epistemology, ontology, all the different forms of understanding the nature of reality. And in my third year, I was very fortunate in that I came across Krishna consciousness, and it gave me a different light on all of those other systems of knowledge, shall we say. And basically all of them are based on speculation. They're based on I can understand by my little brain, you know. It's called the Dr. Frog philosophy. Frog is in a well, and he's asked, how great is the Atlantic Ocean? And is it 5 times the size of my well? Is it 10 times? He can only see in relation to his well. Whereas the Atlantic Ocean is not going to be described by 10 times, 20 times, even 100 times, because he can't even imagine it, you know. So that's the nature of all this knowledge. It's all. You can speculate till the end of till the cows come home. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but you know, till the end of time, and you still won't get even an understanding of Krishna. You won't even get even a glimpse of Krishna. In fact, you'll probably stop Krishna from coming into you if you spend all your time doing that. You know, you won't get in a hair's breadth of understanding Krishna. But if you perform one little bit of devotional service, if you go around since this evening by giving out a plate of prasadam, you'll make more advancement. You know, it's much greater than all the universities that are there. That is the power of devotional service. That's how powerful it is. So, without all this other type of knowledge, you'll never understand Krishna. You'll always be, is it like this? Is it like this? Maybe God is like this. Maybe God is like this. Maybe there's no God. Maybe there's this. It'll go on infinitely. There's no end to it. There's just no end to it. But Krishna is saying here, you can know me in full, free from doubt. And that's what this is what our whole society is, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Just to be conscious of Krishna. That's what it's all about, just to be conscious of Krishna, that Krishna is there. So Krishna says here, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So this practical activity in the foreground of spiritual life is there because we all have a natural tendency to do work, don't we? Like some of us are good at, I can see some of the guys downstairs working on the restaurant there. They're really handy. You know, they know what to do. They have these different saws, and they're creating this, and they're doing this, and they're doing this. So they're really good at this. And if you gave me a saw, like, you know, Shani, you know me, I'm useless. I couldn't change a light bulb hard, you know, and you know, I just can't do that sort of thing. Or someone else is maybe is even a politician. Okay, sorry everybody. Somebody's a politician, and okay, so if there is such a thing, a good politician, but they have a natural tendency to try to help, you know, to try to inverted commas, look after the hospitals, look after the housing, look after the, you know. Anyway, let's see, but that's the problem. But or someone else can, someone else is a ruler. Someone else is, you know, has that tendency. Someone else is a priestly Brahminical type, you know. They can actually speak from the Shastra. They know, you know, they don't even have to have the prompts here. But they can just speak philosophy. Someone else may be good at business. Somebody may be good at banking. You know, someone may be good at computers. You know, you all have a natural tendency, you know. And so the thing is that if we use that tendency for Krishna, you know, then it becomes totally purified. That's what I'm saying, is that the Krishna Consciousness Society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, society is meant to set up situations where we can all act according to our tendencies and promote the whole spiritual atmosphere so we can bring more people in. We are campaigning on behalf of the Krishna Consciousness Party. We want your vote, you know. We want people to become part of this party so that they can actually fulfill their total nature, you know. They can be fully spiritually aware, you know. That's what we're offering. We're not saying you'll be happy if you vote for me and we'll give you a few extra pounds in your pension, you know. We're giving better than a pension. We're giving eternal pension, you know. We're giving you the situation where you'll never have to ever think about a pension again, you know. You'll have a pot of gold that you'll never ever. It'll be always full, always increasing. Our great Acharya, Sanatana Goswami, or one of our great devotees, Sanatana Govindadas, but Sanatana Goswami, he was the brother of Rupa Goswami. He was living on his own with hardly anything. I don't think he had even a house. He was living under a tree, but in the tree he had it was called a touchstone. And at that time, this was a very special stone, and anything that it touched would become gold. And so this person came and he came and he wanted, I want to have the best possible thing. And he went and he said, okay, you can have that touchstone over there. He said, what, a touchstone? Don't believe it. I didn't think that existed. Yeah, there's a touchstone. It's there in the rubbish. Just take that. And you know, he went and he got this touchstone and he went off and he was going to make so much money and so much. So he said, wait a minute, what about this touchstone? What am I doing with this touchstone? I'm like, why is he keeping it in the rubbish? And surely this touchstone would be the most valuable thing. And he said, so he went back and said, what about this touchstone? Why are you keeping it in the rubbish? He said, if you throw it away, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what. So we put him to the test. He went, oh, okay. And then Sanatana Goswami gave him the holy name of Krishna. The holy name. The holy name is there, you know. That's the great benefit in this age. The holy name is there. And so that's what I'm saying, that the spiritual world is there. You won't have to worry about a pension, you know, 65, 67 or 68. Doesn't matter. You'll be eternally happy with this. So that's what the Krishna Consciousness Party is giving you. It's a party political broadcast on behalf of the Krishna Conscious Party, you know. And the thing is that we're a pretty small party, you know. We don't have a lot of votes yet, but we're not going to stop, are we? Are we? We're not going to throw in, we're still going to go up for election all the time. Because every time we go out on the street and do our kirtan, or every time we go out and give a book out, it's said that the whole parampara, who are eternal, all those wonderful figures on the altar, they'll all come and start cheering. That's how powerful it is. The whole spiritual dimension is unbelievable. We like here we're so limited. We can't believe how limited we are. But by this fact of this activity in this material world, the spiritual activity is practical activity. We attain so much spiritual benefit. It is unlimited, the benefit that we can perform. So, anything that we can do to help someone else become Krishna conscious, that is the most powerful thing that we can do in this world. Krishna says there will never be one more dear to me than that person who gives this message to my devotees. Because Krishna, he's created the whole world so as to bring us back so we can, and we're all getting totally distracted. So anybody who helps him in this mission will be so rewarded in that sense. So again, I'm going to ask: is there any other questions? Anything you'd like to ask? Anything? Still got a few minutes left. Johnny?
Yeah, like even though we're spiritual by nature and we're eternal,
Yeah.
we understand that theoretically and intellectually, and we keep hearing,
Yeah.
how to become purified.
Yeah.
Today, you just seem so well firmly fixed and planted in
Yeah.
the thoughts and in the Bible platform basically. No matter how
Yeah.
much we see, we repeat
Mhm.
it and we practice it, but it just seems that we're so entrenched
Yeah.
that it's almost like you're nodding, that's great, and that's how, because we don't understand intellectually, but
Yeah.
in practice we're like we function on the body platform. We don't function.
Yes, I'm just putting the cushioning on my feet here so it doesn't get cold.
It's
Yeah.
rare that we have this great
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
are you so thick?
Oh, yeah.
What is
It's quite amazing because even while we're in that position, it's important for us to maintain our strength and help other people along the way. It's quite amazing because Krishna he kind of knows this, that we're a little debilitated, but he said that by constant practice and detachment, like Krishna says it in Bhagavad Gita, and by as Sweta was saying here when she came, by association of devotees, because even Prabhupada, I'd have to get the exact reference, but in his absolute humility, he was saying to his devotees that I because I'm with you, then I'm good, but when you're not here, I'm not good. Prabhupada, we're not taking, he's a pure devotee, just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur would have all these lamentations about how he was such a low person, but we all know that he's Shaktivesh avatar, but they would say that for our benefit as well, so that we associate, so the association of devotees, that we actually come together and discuss these things. Pardon?
That was another question actually.
Yeah, it's the association of devotees because, we are, and you'll notice that Bhagavad Gita talks all the time about the mind. Anyone see about the mind? I've heard in Bhagavad Gita. It's all throughout Bhagavad Gita. It's the control of the senses and control of the mind, and that is, the mind is almost godlike, in getting us to do what we're not supposed to do, basically to enjoy the senses. So, but if we can somehow or other get the mind to work with us, then we're in for some hope, for some help, and that's why the practice is very important. There's the different stages of bhakti. The first is sadhana bhakti, and then it gets on to raganuga bhakti. So we have to be super diligent in our sadhana bhakti. as again we were discussing, Sweta was discussing just beforehand, we try to perform the same amount of rounds every day, no matter what. You know, no matter what. You know, try to make it 16 rounds. You know, otherwise 5 rounds, 10 rounds. Just make it stable, a stable amount of rounds every day, and then go up. No matter what. That's the word that's used. And funny, does anyone ever chant Hare Krishna and feel drowsy? Does anyone ever chant Hare Krishna and their mind goes into all different areas? Does anyone ever chant Hare Krishna and concentrate on just hearing Krishna's name? But actually, sometimes it does happen. Last Saturday, was it, that we had that program in Pushnet and John's? And John gave this little talk about it. And John as well, he was saying he struggles himself. But actually, when he gave this talk, it was very enlivening. It was really enlivening. It was really good. And, you know, and that's the case, as I'm saying this, that even if we're not great ourselves, but somehow we'd make an effort, you know, to try to spread it. And then it's incredible, the energy Krishna is there. When people come together, Krishna will be there, and he's in everybody's heart. And the Krishna in our heart recognizes the Krishna in somebody else's heart. You know, there's an amazing dynamic happens, you know, because Krishna's in our heart, and we can see in our heart, and then we can see in other people's hearts, and Krishna's there among all of us. And then Krishna encourages all of us then, and he's so happy that we're all together discussing him, you know. And that's where we get that energy from to keep on going, because, you know, eventually then we go back home and, you know, get the bus down to Galway, and maybe just as we get off, oh, that was nice, but oh, it's a pity now, tomorrow I've got to go to work, or whatever, you know. But still, the next morning we get up and we chant, you know. It's like putting a battery in our you know, in ourselves. So that's one thing. But then back again, what we said earlier, well, it was hearing and chanting. You know, we hear. Hearing is so important as well, because it gives us the intelligence to go back. Bhagavad Gita is the platform of the intelligence. That intelligence will help us overcome the mind, because the intelligence is higher than the mind. There's the earth, water, fire, air, ether. Higher than that is the mind, the more subtle elements. The mind, and higher than the mind is the intelligence. And unfortunately, higher than the intelligence is the false ego. False ego. But higher than the false ego is the soul. So the soul has to communicate with the intelligence to control the mind, so that the false ego is not prevalent and is being used in serving Krishna. You know, so that it becomes, you know, spontaneous. So we are organizing this year amazing festivals coming up. One is in July, and it will be one of our Brijbasis, Dina Bandhu Prabhu, is going to come to Innisrath Island, and he's going to speak about Krishna's pastimes. So take that time off, 16 to 19 July if you can, but at least come at the weekend. He's going to speak about Krishna. And when someone like that speaks, Krishna starts dancing in our heart, you know. And then we'll see Krishna, you know. Tadvidi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tegyanam jnanina tattvadarshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Learn the truth from him, and render service and inquiries. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because you've seen the truth. So when we come in contact with a self-realized soul, they can lift us up because they've seen the truth. They're not on the platform, you know. They can actually lift us up. So that's the self-realized soul can bring us out, you know. So go to these different festivals, go to these things, because and associate with the devotees and hear from these devotees. In September we have Satyananda Maharaj coming. And he's written, I haven't got the book there in my bag, but he's written amazing books about chanting. Just by hearing these books in the morning time when we chant, it won't be, no, and then eventually after a few rounds, oh, Hare Krishna, you know, oh no, what time is it? You know, it won't be like that. It'll be more that, you know, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, because he gives us the kind of, you know, the knowledge of which to actually approach, you know, to to get us into the right frame of mind. And then when we get the energy from the chanting, then our whole day becomes, we start to see Krishna in different places, and then the Krishna Consciousness Society starts to spread, because the only way Krishna Consciousness, we can tell Krishna Consciousness to others, starting with ourselves. We start with ourselves, So that's where we get the energy from wherever we can. And one of again, I mentioned him earlier, one of my mentors, Tribhuvan Prabhu, who left in 2001, he one time actually answered a question very similar to what you asked there. It was one of our friends, Raghunath was his name, he was kind of saying the same things. I've been practicing for many years and I still feel as I'm really not, I've hardly even started. And Tribhuvan had said to him, Tribhuvan was a very advanced devotee. He came to Krishna consciousness when he was 17, but and he left when he was 49. But he said, Prabhu, he said, you're almost there. He said, you're almost there. Don't think about giving up on that, whatever. He said, you're almost there. So we may think that we're not so advanced, or we're not getting, we seem to be still have the same difficulties as before. But, if we actually just, keep on adding, keep on doing things, little services here and there, cooking here, chanting there, speaking there, just keep on doing those things. We don't know. Krishna's standard is maybe different than what we think, Krishna he's a different level. He's looking at he knows us from time immemorial. He knows us from the very beginning. We kind of know ourselves now. I'm such and such. I'm from Ireland and I came, that's how we know. But he knows us from way, way longer. So it may be then that he says, okay, nonsense. I'll help you here, and he may just drag us at the end. Okay, you gave me a nice luglu one time, and I think that was very good. Okay, there you go. So we don't know what his standard is. Well, we hear from our spiritual master, we have to have, follow 4 regular principles, chant 16 minutes, all of those things. So we have those regulations there, and we follow them like anything as much as possible. But we still can never be, and that's another thing that Prabhupada talks about. He says, without feeling hopelessness, just if we keep on performing devotional service without ever feeling like that, then that is the standard. So your question is very pertinent. It's a little cold, isn't it? So you have to heat it. What? Another question, okay.
Yeah, it's like, you talk about a personal relationship with Krishna.
Yeah.
Very often in the scriptures you come across, Krishna, setting things in motion, and then he continues to have his pastimes, have his fun and spiritual work, and he's aloof from the ongoings of, the mundane activities of the living entity. So how does that correlate with simultaneously being aloof and having a personal relationship?
No, he's always there. He's.
I know it's free will as well.
Well, he's waiting to hear that cry from us of surrender. And then he'll be right there. He's right next to us. It's the quality of our utterance is what he's interested in. Because like if we're saying Krishna help, and then Krishna comes and we're kind of where's my kind of 7-Up. Where's my and then Krishna knows the quality of when we really, really want him. He's there. I mean, he actually wants to come like so much more than we want to go. That's the problem, and that's what the kind of the class and all these things are about. We have to become qualified ourselves. It's not that there's any lacking there, that Krishna is not there. He is. It's just that we kind of don't want him to be there, because if he is there, then we'll have to give up our nonsense. and we're so attached to our nonsense, you know. Like a person is attached to his packet of fags, like, you know. Okay, I'm attached to something else, you know. We're so attached to such insignificant things. There was a great example one time of a lady. She was a lady or a man, I'm not sure, but one or the other. There was a time when there was the transport was the barge, and they used to have to a boat. She used to have to pull a boat along a canal because she had to bring her stuff from one place to the next, and she was very difficult. You know, she was an older lady, and she had to actually walk and pulling this stuff along, and eventually, somehow or other, by Agatha Sukriti, she got an incredible boon of meeting a spiritual person. And that spiritual person came to her, okay, so you've done something very well in your past life. I'll offer you one boon. What boon do you want? And the boon that she asked for, and she could have anything, she could have gone back to the spiritual world. She asked for some padding for her shoulder, because, you know, it was very hard on her shoulders as she was pulling things along. So that was she asked for padding. So you can see how sometimes we're so attached to this, we're so, you know, myopic, short-sighted, I don't know what it is, that we can only see barely in front of us. We're so, you could say we're so in ignorance, and we're so attached to such insignificant things that it's that we forget to look out. And funny, I'm studying another book at the moment on trying to change ourselves, and sometimes a person tries to change himself, like says that, yeah, I've always been lazy, and I'm going to try not to be lazy anymore. And so what can I do not to be lazy? And, you know, I'm kind of a lazy person, but I'm going to try not to be lazy anyway. Definitely going to try this time not to be lazy. Oh, I didn't succeed again because I'm lazy. Anyway, I'm going to stop being lazy. You know, you're almost programming yourself to be lazy, you know. So you kind of have to sort of think outside. And so this is like spiritual life as well. You know, in the night before you go to bed, think, tomorrow I'm going to chant really good rounds. I'm going to call out to Krishna. I'm going to really call out to Krishna. I'm definitely going to program yourself a little bit. You know, this is kind of the mind. You know, use the intelligence to get the mind to get up. Next morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be fit and well. I'm going to say, Krishna, help. Please help. You know. So in that way, we create new brain patterns for ourselves. So that's even a kind of a mechanical thing, you know, that we can do. But it can be useful. We have to use whatever we can in Krishna's service. You know, use matter in Krishna's service. Actually, that was given to me by, I was a devotee in Chopati, and that's where he's actually giving talks at the moment on management in India. And I wanted to be there, but I wasn't there. But anyway, he sent me this book, and part of that is explaining about how to create new patterns like that. So he's not afraid to use these things in Krishna's service. And he's super successful because he's in charge of this very successful eco farm in Pune, in India, in Mumbai, and it's won worldwide awards for how it's changing the whole. It's almost like our political kind of party. We're showing how to live simply, because that's part of Prabhupada's, one of the 7 things, the 7 things that he said about ISKCON, the 7 tenets of ISKCON. To live simply. But how can you live simply when everything's so complicated? But anyway, that was one of the things. But that's what we're doing. But we have to create new patterns, basically, to try to live more spiritually in our life, and not to worry so much about or to try to get beyond those things which kind of keep us here.
Is the book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself?
That, I think that's referred to in this book. It is referred to, but it's I meant to take a photo of it because I only started it. It's I'd have to go and research again the title of it actually. But that's the sort of things that we can use. Yeah, we use them in Krishna's service, and so that we become even more spiritually aware.
The writer name is called Dr. Dispenza, and he does talk in his book about the Vedanta and Upanishad.
Interesting.
And he relates his breaking the habit of being yourself all the way back to 6,000 years ago. People,
Yeah.
how it's ingrained with that, and
Yeah.
it could be.
Yeah. I mean, it is amazing, isn't it? I mean, it was all in the vein. All this stuff is in the Vedas, like, and has been there since time immemorial. Which is amazing. Yeah. They probably one time said that the scientists, they should do well just to study Bhagavatam, because they will find so many new insights, but they don't. And part of the problem with science is that people get stuck in a paradigm, and they don't think outside that paradigm. Like, you can't use the word God in a lot of science. If you do, you won't get your next grant to do more research, because you're an atheist to their system. But anyway, that's another story. But thank you for that. Okay, I think we'll stand up for the arty now and jump around, try to warm up, because you have to get off.